In a highly anticipated interview on Monday, British broadcaster Piers Morgan grilled white nationalist Nick Fuentes on some of his most racist, anti-Semitic, and misogynistic views, including if the 27-year-old still stood by his public claim that Nazi leader and genocidal maniac Adolf Hitler was f***ing cool.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really f***ing cool.
Do you regret saying that?
Saying a fact? No, that's absolutely true.
You think Hitler was very f***ing cool?
Yes, I do.
One of them.
And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
Fuentes, who has repeatedly praised Hitler and claimed the Holocaust that killed more than 6 million Jews never happened, went on to claim that Morgan's hatred of Hitler and contempt over the genocide of the Jewish people was overblown.
Well, let's just be clear. It doesn't begin and end with Hitler is a monster. This has been the political narrative, which is why we have thrown open the borders. This is a political narrative, which is why we can't be a conservative society as a whole anymore, why we can't be proud of Europeans, why we can't be proud of being Christian, because they've told us if you're too white and too proud and too Christian, it's going to lead to a Holocaust. And so my generation, our entire lives.
Honestly, Nick Fuentes,
and that's why people like me. That's why I'm popular, because this is bull.
The interview eventually moved on to Fuentes' view on women, claiming he doesn't believe women should have equal rights to men, all while Morgan questioned the podcaster's sexuality.
Are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No, but I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not, no, absolutely not.
I know I'm the boomer here, but actually you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women,
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy, have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow, says the guy who's never got laid.
Fuentes, a white nationalist, leads a movement known as the 𝗪𝗧𝗪 and has been banned from multiple platforms. 𝗪𝗪𝗪s, or the 𝗪𝗪𝗪 Army, according to the Anti-Defamation League, are far-right followers of Fuentes who believe in preserving white, European-American culture and hold racist and anti-Semitic beliefs. The 27-year-old far-right influencer has been extremely controversial and has become synonymous with expressing anti-Semitic sentiment, espousing disgustingly sexist views like claiming that women want to be raped, denying the Holocaust, and grousing that the GOP is run by Jews, atheists, and homosexuals.
A lot of women want to be raped, and when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that, but there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. Everybody raise your right hand, repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
It is Heil Hitler Friday, Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis.
A generational divide, the boomer versus Gen Z. Piers Morgan, who is the host of Uncensored, he just recently hosted Nicholas J. Fuentes, and it is the interview that has been heard round the world. And the divide between the boomer generation and Gen Z couldn't be more stark, right? It's one thing to lose in an argument. It's another to lose an argument on your own platform. And it's another thing to lose an argument on your own platform and to lose so badly that you don't even realize you lost until millions of people tell you on social media after the fact. That's how out of touch the boomer generation is. And again, we're not trying to pick on Piers Morgan specifically. It cannot be overstated how absolutely devastating the boomers have been on all future generations. The selfishness, the oblivious, uncaring. I mean, we'll see. We'll show some tweets from Piers Morgan where you think of like, who are the bad guys in the Bible? You know, some of the most vain, fleshly, wicked individuals. Esau comes to mind. A guy who's willing to sell his own birthright for a bowl of soup. Well, you know what? Piers Morgan and the boomer generation at large in general has caused me to be a little bit more respectful towards Esau. At least Esau was starving. At least Esau just got done working with his hands, right? Physically out in the woods all day long on a hunt. At least Esau was actually famished. Piers Morgan is overweight, overfed, and he quite literally is willing to sell out not only his own birthright, but the birthright of all his posterity and every future generation of Great Britain, not for soup that might actually taste good, but for curry that is disgusting.
There are some things, they're so irresistible, it really isn't possible to mount a defense against them. So different tribes that have been uncontacted and have been given the internet, they actually really quickly grow to become addicted to sexual material on the internet. They have no defense for it. They didn't grow up in that culture. They weren't instructed in how to resist it. They have no context, no defense for it. It's just too powerful. Propaganda, we did a whole episode on this. Propaganda is super powerful as well. And this generation was completely naive to it, completely like a virgin. Like it had never hit them the way all this propaganda, especially in the civil rights era. So I have a lot of sympathy for a generation that just, it hit them, their 30s, hit them in their 40s. And now at this point, they're 70, 80 years old. Like it could be the most AI slop possible. Like I don't even know, like Winnie the Pooh or whatever. And boomers would be like, oh, so beautiful. Where do I send my money? You know, someone calls them on the phone. Hello, sir, this is the FBI and you owe us $400,000. Oh my goodness. I've got to send them the money. This is the FBI.
Right.
They have no defense. And some of that is just straight up not their fault. They didn't grow up with the technology. Millennials and below, for us, it's like, oh, another spam call, super easy to discern because we grew up in that context. They did not. So I'll just pile on and say, I do have a lot of sympathy for that generation, what they experienced, without excusing the individuals that are stubborn and hard-hearted in their doubling down.
And so again, Piers Morgan being the best of the boomers, what does it represent? Well, it represents, a generation that's willing to sell out all their grandchildren for curry, a bowl of soup. What else does it represent? A generation that in the case of Piers Morgan, again, being the best of the boomers, right? We're not just picking a random guy. The best of the boomers, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's well familiarized with these concepts. He is intelligent and able to think in categories, and he is playing stupid, not actually stupid, which makes him what? Deceived? No, deceiver. It means there's malice, there's deception, it's immoral, it's wicked. So you're not just talking about a guy who's a fat glutton who would sell out his grandchildren to be invaded by foreigners. You're also talking about a guy who is malicious and calculated and intentionally missing the point in order to deceive his boomer audience.
Yeah, that's why the new right is winning. It's because we have facts on our side.
Correct.
There's an old saying, it says, when you argue with a boomer, what you're actually doing is you're arguing with the TV.
You're arguing with Piers Morgan.
The TV can't hear you.
You're arguing with Piers Morgan.
So you can lay it all out, but the TV, the boomer, literally it's like, this doesn't fit into the paradigm that I've established in my mind for the last 60 to 70 years. I've been told people are equal, people are interchangeable. Well, there's some crime here, there's some crime there. We call it a wash. And the reason we are winning, and I'm talking about a broad coalition of different voices, the reason we're winning is when you clearly and simply lay it out. These people, on average, commit more crime than these people. There are ways to spin it and still be honest about the facts. But Piers would not even be honest about, yeah, actually, you're right. Per capita, the rate of school shooters among young white men is a lot less. He refused to even honestly deal with the facts. And if you think that dog is going to hunt in 2025, 2026, that's absolutely ridiculous. People are not going to hear you over a second time. They're going to be like, this guy's retarded. I'm not listening to him.
What's happening is not, we're trying to have a gotcha moment with Nick to prove how cruel he is and how sensitive he is. No, we are wheeling out the old tired trope that we've been using for 80 years to tell young white men that you're not allowed to be frustrated about your entire future being sold by the prior generation. And Nick just wasn't having it, and God bless him.
And he did great too. He didn't come out and say, it didn't happen, but it should have.
Right.
He said 1 million, 6 million, 100 million. Say it's all true. And we did this. We talked about the Holocaust as a new religion as well in a recent episode. It was really
Nick is
popular.
a Holocaust maximalist. That's what he said. He's like, it could be 100.
No,
100
I don't believe
times.
it's just 6
He's like
million.
6, 7 million. What's the number these days? Could be 100 times that.
I mean, Donald Trump, of all people, a liberal from the 90s, who I mean, the guy probably, he likes abortion. He's on his third marriage. That guy is being called Hitler because he said, hey, the border is being overwhelmed with drugs and crime. That guy being called Hitler.
That is so important. At the end of the day, Donald Trump has been called Hitler. So he's not being called Hitler because of his position on abortion or his position on women or his position on against gay marriage. No, Donald Trump,
Donald Trump loves him some gay marriage.
Yeah, to our shame, Donald Trump loves gay sex. He absolutely does. There is virtually, but I'm just quoting him in his own words. There's no bigger champion of gay people than Donald J. Trump. He's all about the gays, all about it. So Donald Trump, the death of babies, fine. Sodomy, great. I mean, he'll boast in being pro-sodomy. The one thing, so let's be honest about it. He's called Hitler all the time. It's certainly not because of his stance against homosexuality or a stance against abortion. It's only one thing. It's because he said, hey, maybe we should have a wall. Maybe we should have a border. Maybe we shouldn't be invaded by millions and millions and millions.
Somalians isn't in the best interest of America.
And that is what has made him called Hitler. And so a guy like Nick is simply, and Nick is just, Piers is representative of the boomers. Nick is representative of Gen Z. Everyone should watch this interview. It is literally the boomers versus Gen Z. In real time, the most clearly put on public display debate between the boomer generation and Gen Z. And you just got to be honest, Gen Z just mopped the floor with the boomers. And so when Nick says, yeah, I'm going to poke the bear. Well, why? Because he's cruel, because he's immature, because he's a loose cannon, because he's insensitive. Those things may or may not be.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
Ugh.
What a wicked man.
An hour
What an
ago.
absolute wicked man. This is a man who purports to be a Christian, purports to be Catholic. In the interview, this isn't even the only part, although this part, I mean, really, it stands out. But, later on, he's calling Nick Fuentes a misogynist because he says, well, do you believe that men and women are equal? And Nick says, absolutely. And then that same guy who claims to be a Christian starts mocking a young man who's single, who's never been married, mocks him as a single man for practicing abstinence. Oh, you've never been laid? Oh, you're not getting tail? That's embarrassing for you. That's the implication. That's what he's saying. Now, so think about this, right? With conservatives in 2025, who needs progressives, right? Two sodomite men purchase little boys, and they get praised by conservatives. Congratulated.
Well done.
By conservatives, right? I've even heard that Ron DeSantis, who I appreciate, sent matching onesies to Dave Rubin for the two boys. Congratulated. So here's your base conservatives, right? Two sodomite men purchase little boys. Great. A single man is practicing abstinence as a Christian, at least someone who purports to be a Christian, a Catholic, and we're going to mock him in front of millions. That's where we're at. And here's the deal. I'm going to say it again. Mockery for abstinence for a single man coming from who? Boomers. Piers is not the worst. He's the best of boomers. He's the best of boomers. You're talking about the generation responsible for the sexual revolution. You want to talk about false gods, false religions that the boomers worship, Holocaustianity and gay sex, right? Two peas in a pod. They worship sexual deviancy. They worship sexual freedom, sexual liberty. They worship the gynocracy. Women are not just valued, they're worshiped. And men are subservient, slaves, right? These are their idols. And in real time, you have a 27-year-old single man who has been canceled for a decade coming on in front of millions and just with both of his hands tied behind his back, Piers Morgan with all his fact checkers and all his team, and Nick Fuentes just smiling, sitting there and mopping the floor. Why? Because at the end of the day, what Nick was facing are idols. And as the scripture says, as Paul says, idols are no gods at all. Why was Nick able to do this so handedly, so easily? Because he's not buying the propaganda. He's not playing it. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Oh, you were offended. Oh, your mom. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, no, he's just like, no, we're done with this. They're idols. We're not worshiping false gods anymore. We're done. I'm sorry. Nothing breaks the heart of a boomer like telling them they can't have their idolatry.
People being offended is not the worst thing in the world. And that is really the tie back to the Piers Morgan interview, where for 2 hours straight, we witnessed Piers Morgan trying to tell Nick Fuentes, you've really offended a lot of people by your statements about women or about Jews or about blacks. He airs one clip where Nick says, listen, the country is run by Jews. Women are out of control. Most black people need to be in prison. Piers airs that clip and he expects Nick to be embarrassed and blushing and stumbling on his words and apologizing for his statements. And Nick says, yeah, everything I said in that statement is true. Is everything he said not true? Is the country not run by a Jewish oligarch of billionaires working domestically and internationally for their own self-interest at the detriment of our country and all of Europe? Is that not true? Are women not killing 1 million children just in our country alone per year? Are 99% of abortions not elective? Are women not the primary instigators of no-cause divorce? Do women not vote overwhelmingly liberal for open borders, for transgender surgeries, for religious tolerance? Do women not feel entitled when they get into the C-suite positions of the corporations to create a Women's Appreciation Day in the company where they all get to check out of work and celebrate themselves? A woman's employee network where they all get to promote each other? Is that not happening? Is it not true that according to our FBI, the universal crime report that comes out every year, is it not true that 50% of all of the violent crime in this country this year, last year, for the last 10 years, for the last 20 years, every decade of your entire life, more than 50% of the violent crime comes from the 13% of the population who are black, and specifically black males who are only 6% of the population? Piers Morgan, is that true or is that not true? Is it not true that most of the black population who are committing crimes should be in jail? We should not be reducing their bail. We should not be letting them steal with no penalty. We should not be saying, oh, it's okay, you committed that crime because somebody called you the N-word. And so Nick really put on a masterclass in terms of being accosted and accused and moralized, whether it's by your parents or by an employer or by a friend or whoever else who is trying to give you a hard time about speaking about these subjects. He says, listen, these things are just objectively true, and I can provide the examples like I just did. And I'm not ever going to apologize for stating things that are true, no matter who they offend. The only other thing that I really want to talk about on the Piers Morgan interview, because it was 2 hours and it really was just clip after clip after clip, Nick responding, saying, no, I'm not going to apologize. I still stand by that. It's pretty comical. I mean, also, I should say, go and look at the comments on the Piers Morgan interview. They are 100% in Nick's favor, which is very amusing because throughout the Piers interview, he says, well, the audience is going to decide. You know, when they hear you talking about the Holocaust that way and making jokes about it, they're going to decide if that's appropriate. And when they hear you say that women shouldn't be able to vote, they're going to decide if that's appropriate. And when you don't apologize for using the N-word, they're going to decide if that's appropriate. Okay, well, the audience 100% decided that Nick was in the right for everything that he said and that he shouldn't apologize for a single word. So, I mean, this is the paradigm shift that is happening in real time. This grievance culture, this moralizing kindergarten teacher waving their finger at you, usually women, but oftentimes beta men like Piers Morgan, even Tucker Carlson, telling you that you can't say that, you can't say this, that's really hurtful. That is for the boomers. Leave it with them. Let them die off. And I'm not saying that in a cruel way, but I'm saying let those ideologies die off with the generation who created and promoted them, because those are not the beliefs we have about the world, about language, about free discourse, about stating things that are true no matter how offensive they are. Because the moment you abandon truth in favor of not offending people's sensibilities, you have abandoned the Bible. When the Bible says that women should not hold authority over men, and you say, like Piers Morgan says, even despite claiming to be a Catholic, that he has no problem with women priests, and then he goes on to mock Nick Fuentes for never having sex with a woman. Oh, I thought one of the Christian virtues was chastity. But here you have Piers Morgan telling him, oh, well, your misogynist views about women come from the fact that you haven't gotten laid. Okay, here's our role model Catholic, Mr. Piers Morgan.
And a younger generation saying, well, actually, no, we've got our own problems, and you're boxing us in with these series of shibboleths that we're not supposed to transgress. Actually, we do have serious problems, and this generation is being told repeatedly, and I'm talking about young white men, that you are the problem, that everything wrong with the world is your fault, even though they cannot possibly have had any hand in creating the situation, and that if they just march into an employer's and give them a firm handshake, and they stop eating avocado toast, then they can have a house and a family and all of the things that older generations had. It is quite clearly untrue. I mean, it's just staggeringly unself-aware. I'll show you what I mean. Let's have a look at this exchange between Dr. Phil and Piers Morgan.
Great to have you back on Uncensored, as always. What do you make of Nick Fuentes?
Well, a lot. And I first have to say, I commend you for doing this interview. I know some people say, why would you platform this person? I think it took courage for you to put him on. And
okay, I mean, that's an interesting take. It was brave of Piers Morgan to misrepresent Fuentes and try and get his dad killed. Okay, fine.
I'm glad that you did, because if there's not an adult in the room to ask the hard questions and hold these type of voices accountable.
I mean, just look at that. If there's not an adult in the room, Nick Fuentes is 27 years old. He is an adult. If you look at the boomers' parents, the greatest generation, they were on the front lines at 27. They were men at 27. At 27, they had homes, they had families. You know, they probably had 2 kids by that stage. To say that men of 27 are not men, I mean, really, this is again, and I'm not talking about all boomers here. Boomers are the adults. The people who have the boomer mindset are the adults. And this 27-year-old is not an adult, and we're not even going to speak to him. We're not going to address his concerns. We are simply going to speak over him and tell him he's being a child. And on top of this, Nick Fuentes is a Catholic. He's supposed to not have sex before marriage. And yet, from Piers Morgan's point of view, this is an instant own. Oh, you're not a real man, you're not getting laid. I mean, and on top of this, right, on top of this, we've got all the revelations that have come out about Piers Morgan's wife, who has a bloody marriage sabbatical so she can go off and get laid elsewhere. And the daily humiliations that she sticks out on her Instagram about Piers Morgan, about how he's weak and pathetic and how she fancies other men and photos and so forth. I mean, come on, Piers.
Wow.
That's the thing, though. You boomers, it's
Do you think
always
you're an
get
expert in
laid,
women,
free love.
given you've never got laid?
Yeah, we are going back to the Stone Age. You're absolutely right. This
Again, Piers thinks he's got him. He thinks he's got him. He's so smug. He's so happy with himself.
You know, you're talking about empathy and your kids are empathetic and they would never laugh at a joke about the Holocaust and you're a misogynist. You're a simp yourself. You're totally henpecked. That's the problem.
And here he is talking to Candace Owens, a black woman, and they're talking, she's saying, oh, you should be married. She's trying to attack him. He's coming in response, but that's not what I want to talk about. There's one sentence he says that I think exposes something that American Jews, diaspora Jews need to hear. Listen to this.
If I'm banned on everything and I can't make a living, I'm banned from banking, I'm banned from credit card processing, I'm getting doxxed, people are showing up to my house trying to kill me, things like that. I also don't appreciate the lecture. You don't know me, you know? So I know you're married, I know you're older than me, but you don't know me, you don't know my life, you don't know my situation. I don't think you're in a position to give me advice, especially as a woman, honestly. I don't think women, you know, this is something in the right wing, we say we're anti-feminist, and then women go around telling men what to do, who are not their husbands. And, you know, I don't really buy into that ideologically, but that's besides the point. You know, my life has been tumultuous from the very beginning. From the time I turned 18, people were coming for my neck and trying to get me, and I was kicked out of college. And then, you know, once you're branded as an anti-Semite, before it became cool or popular, can't get a job, can't make a living, get banned from PayPal, all this kind of stuff. You know, that's a very difficult.
You hear that, Yahusha? He said before it became cool,
right?
Before it became popular,
right.
It is now cool. It is popular to come out against the Jews. The masks are off. So let's delve a little bit deeper on what's really happening here. Why is it happening?
If I had to have anybody in the studio right now, here with us, I wouldn't want Tucker, because I feel like he's a big liar. And I feel like he just poo-poos everything. And I wouldn't want Candace because I think she's just nutty. This guy Fuentes, he has something that I like. What is that? He has a respect, an awe, a fear of the Jewish people. You get a sense that he's like, these people are truly powerful, truly unique. He keeps talking about the fact that they have a togetherness around the planet. He talks about the fact that they have each other's back. He talks about that they have this country, Israel, that's going to become very powerful. He sees that we're going to be able to, have a temple in Jerusalem. He fears it, but he acknowledges it.
Listen to what he says about them. Listen to this.
Any of us, do you think any of us, any of you watching, me, Tucker, Candace, Dave Smith, do you think any one of us woke up one day in America in the 21st century and we, out of a clear blue sky, became really interested in age-old anti-Semitic tropes? We woke up one day and started believing 19th century ancient tropes about Jewish people, these like anachronistic anti-Semitic blood libel? Of course not. We were pushed here. The Jews pushed us to this point. I will echo what Charlie said. You have left us with no choice. That's what happened to me. That's what happened to Tucker. That is what happened to Candace. For what? For opposing genocide? For saying America first? For wanting to close the damn borders? They are hateful. They are intolerant. They are the unreasonable ones. They are obsessed and preoccupied with Israel. The goodwill of Christians, Americans, Europeans, it has evaporated. So your museums, your victim narrative, your oy veys, you can shove them up. And we're looking at people like Josh Hammer and Mark Levin, and we're saying, listen, this is America. We're looking at Josh Hammer, this ugly goblin, and we're grabbing him by his lapel, this tiny little goblin, and saying, listen, you can go back to Israel. It's America first. We're grabbing Mark Levin and saying, you had a good run here. You had a good thing going. Get with America or get the out of our country. That's everybody. That's everybody.
There's no question that Hitler and the Nazis were fueled by old anti-Semitism, old goblin-like anti-Semitism, the hook-nosed Jew controlling everything, that whole thing.
You hear that coming out in him, too.
Right.
He's like, grab them by the belt and say, you Jew.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, there's something
the strong Aryan white and the sniveling weak Jew.
Right.
You hear that in his messaging there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. There is definitely a throwback, and he even says, what do you think, it's just a throwback? It's like, yeah, it is a throwback. But there's another side to it, which is something that I don't know if you're going to be comfortable talking about, but he's also angry at the leftiness of American Jewry. He's angry at progressiveness, which has brought in all the gay movement, the LGBT movement. The Jews have led all that stuff. And the Hollywood, which has sown a lot of immorality, a lot of stuff that Jewish people do bring. See, so, there is an element of vomiting out of this pulling America on borders and other issues to the left that he despises. Like, if I'm a Christian, right? I'm not. I'm an Orthodox Jew, but if I was a Christian and I would say, well, the Jewish people, they killed our God and they're the Antichrist, they're the anti-Bible people. I could find a lot of reasons to prove that. I could be like, yeah, these people bring the opposite of the Bible. They're not the Ten Commandments people. They're not Sabbath observers. They're not family values people. They're the other side. So there's an allergic reaction to that. Do you think that that's unfair to have that? Do you want him to love all the American Jews that are there? Do you think that he has to love Hollywood and the progressives and all that kind of stuff? Or can there be a vomiting out of that?
No, I think that's exactly why we're doing the show, because if we're piercing deeper than what he's saying and we're not reactive, we can listen that there's underlying truths to what he is saying. Right. I've heard it say that the Jewish people are just like everybody else, but only more so. Only more so. Meaning that when we're left and woke, we're the high priests in the cult of left wokeism. Right. And if we're right-wing and conservative, we're the Ben Shapiros and the Mark Levines, and we're all over that voice, right? We come from both sides.
I think that you cannot actually divorce Israel and the neocons and all of those things that you talk about from Jewishness, ethnicity, religion, identity. And let me give you like a perfect example. You say on your show that we need to treat Israel like any other country. And I sort of understand that in principle because Israel is another foreign country. Yeah. But Israel is unlike every other country in the sense that because the Jewish people are in a diaspora all over the world, they're significant numbers of Jews in Europe, but also in the United States, because of their unique heritage and story, which is that they're a stateless people. They're unassimilable. They resist assimilation for thousands of years, and I think that's a good thing. And now they have this territory in Israel. There's a deep religious affection for the state. It's bound up in their identity, the story of the Exodus from Egypt, the promise of the land, all these things. Let's say in the United States, for example, somebody like a Sheldon Adelson, he's not Israeli. Is he an ideological neocon? Does he believe in the promise of democratic globalism? I don't think necessarily. His heart is in Israel. And it's because he is a proud Jewish person. And I guess what I'm saying is that if you are a Jewish person in America, you're sort of, and again, it's not because they're born, but it's sort of a rational self-interest politically to say, I'm a minority. I'm a religious ethnic minority. This is not really my home. My ancestral home is in Israel.
I feel like to the untrained ear or the untrained eye that sees this, they're like, does he really hate us or not? Does he really?
If a rabbi said that, if let's say Rabbi Przansky would say this speech exactly, I could hear him saying in his tone, I would think that would be the most complimentary clip I've ever seen, or one of them.
But what he's saying when he
These
says we
people
have
have
to treat
survived-
them, we have to treat them with the exceptionalism that they deserve.
But
now, if you ask him what's that exceptionalism, we need to hate them more. We need to fear them more because there's an exceptional threat that they pose. That's why it's important to understand that, because to us, we hear that and we're like, we refuse to assimilate. Is there any other nation in the history of the world that throughout history has had a greater desire, unquenchable desire to do anything to assimilate, from the days of the Hellenists, where Jews were reversing their circumcisions in the painful process, to throughout Europe, where they were converting to Catholicism? Right. I want you to listen to this from Fuentes, because he is a replacement theologist. He is. I want you to listen to this.
Idea that, the Jews are the Old Testament or the New Testament. The relationship between the New Testament and the Old Testament, it's not a sequel. The New Testament and the theology in it replaces the theology of the Old Testament. So in the Old Testament, you have a religion that's based on the people of Israel. They make sacrifices at the temple. They have rabbis. They have the law. But when Jesus arrives, he changes everything, because he becomes the law. And so this is where a lot of the Protestants say, we need to support Israel because the Bible says those who bless Israel will be blessed. That's in the book of Genesis. And the book of Genesis is talking about what is Israel in the Old Testament and the first covenant that God makes with the Jewish people. When Jesus comes, just like everything else, Israel's transformed. The laws changed, the priesthood has changed, the temple has changed, and Israel changes. What was the family and the race becomes the body of Christ. He says there is neither Jew nor Gentile. The new Israel is
the reason I love this so much is because this is what it's about. This is the ones and the zeros of the coding. Beyond, so everything else is a facade.
Yeah, I agree.
What are we chosen for?
Yeah, I agree with you that these people are messengers in a sense. One of the messages is come home to the land of Israel. That's an obvious one. Another one is what you're talking about right now, which is refine your message. Like, are you trying to be a light unto the nations? I would say Jerusalem is trying to be a capital of spirituality for the world. That pilgrimage to Jerusalem and connecting with the God of Israel is a message for all mankind. That's the opportunity. But we have not. I agree with you. We have far from clarified that.
I want to play one more Fuentes clip here.
All right.
Right? And this is where he's on Patrick Bet-David's show. And he says, I'm an Italian, 4th generation Italian. You don't see me talking about Italy and Rome. I'm an American now. What's with these Jews that go back thousands? Here, listen to this clip.
the historic animosity between the Jewish people and the Europeans. They hate the Romans because the Romans destroyed the temple. That's why Eric Weinstein goes to the Arch of Titus and gives it the finger and takes a picture. We don't think like that as Americans and white people. We don't think about the Roman Empire in 2,000 years ago. They do.
The point that he's saying there is that a Chinese person that left China 5 generations ago in America, they're American. They're not thinking about the ancient glorious days of China. The same thing with the French or the Italians. He says there's something different in the epigenetic coding of the nation of Israel, of the Jewish people, that they are connected to their mission in a great, and Jews could be like, no, we're not. We try to assimilate, but there's nothing you can do to shake it. It's a part of who you are, even if you don't know it or understand it.
This kind of, and I say this with tongue in cheek, but there's some truth in it, a kind of prophet. Let's watch him talk about where Israel is really going and what the third temple, the power of the third temple that he fears so much. Let's watch him say the words himself of what he understands where this whole process of the world is really going.
On eschatological views about the 12th Imam and the Mahdi and all this, we don't talk about the Jews, which is, in order for them to practice their religion, they need to reestablish temple worship. In order to have temple worship, they need another temple. And this is not exactly a fringe idea in Israel. They talk about sacrificing these red heifers, these perfect red heifers. And then ultimately, one of the goals of the religious Zionists is to take out the mosque, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and rebuild the third temple. And this is sort of terrifying because it undoes what the caller said, does what Christ did, which was to destroy the temple because there's a new sacrifice, which is him, the Lamb of God. There's a new temple. There's a new church, new priests. There's a new law. And then they were sent out. Now that they've returned, it's almost like it's working in reverse. They've returned to the land. And then, it might point towards maybe they're going to rebuild the temple. And who will inhabit the temple? The Jews say that our religion is dead because Christ is dead, they say. They say their religion is alive and their Messiah is yet to come. Who will inhabit the third temple and sit in the Holy of Holies on the site? It sounds like the Antichrist.
It's beautiful. And the reason it's so beautiful, is because if Nick Fuentes himself,
Nick.
if he understood the blessing that would come to him, Nick Fuentes, if Hamas understood the blessing that would come to them, they would all be helping us build this temple. They're talking about Jewish nationalism, not understanding what Jews themselves don't understand, that when we return to the land of Israel and we establish the nation of Israel and the land of Israel, listen, in Israel we had 12 tribes. We didn't try to mix them all together and melt them into a melting pot. Each one had its own talent, its own gift to all of humanity that they bring. The redemption that we're praying for is that Mashiach, Messiah, the temple that we're building, is going to shine a light that each nation will see the beautiful godly gift that they've been given that they can use to contribute to the welfare of all of mankind.
Yeah.
That the Jewish nationalism isn't particularism, but it's a blessing for the entire world.
That's right.
And that's why all of this is happening. It is bringing us to our own consciousness and awareness. The Nick Fuentes of the Hamas, they're all defibrillators. Waking up the Jewish people to who we are.
Yes, he is, but he is not blessing the United States. He is somebody who's bringing a shrinkage to the United States in the end. All of his racial purity in the end will not bring you a success. Aryeh Abramowitz, thank you so much.
Oh man, thank you, Yahusha. It's a great honor.